huge portion of our business pre-COVID was corporate, making bags, co-branded bags for companies for onboarding employees.
Gotcha.
And our two biggest customers, clients, if you will, were Airbnb and Stripe Technologies, payment technologies company.
Yep.
We literally made thousands of bags for onboarding their employees. And this is the Airbnb bag.
There you go.
That's custom label. Instead of embroidery, we did this custom reflective heat transfer.
Oh, that's cool.
So that's fun.
Yeah.
The first task was they had this particular color was a special color that they had. So we went out and we tried to get our Cordura custom dyed.
Oh,
okay.
okay.
We knew they were willing to commit to the minimums, which is 1,200 yards. That's a lot of fabric. That's thousands of bags. But they were like, fine, we'll do that. So we went and got we call lab dips for they send us several lab dips and different color gradations. Pick the one that's closest to what you want. We went back and forth. And they were like, no, that's not good enough. It's not good enough. And then I finally thought, I wonder if we can get the color digitally.
Okay.
One, it's a lot easier to do a lab dip digitally. You just print the digital color, right? Say, well, do you like it or not? And so we did a range of colors, and we could do a much finer detailed range. And we said, pick one of these. Oh, nailed it right there. So all of a sudden we're like, okay, we can print this and we can reproduce it reliably.
Right.
One of the problems with dyed fabric is every dye lot is different, even if subtly, right?
Yeah.
And so it can drift off. We get fabric from Brookwood today where we're like, hey, wait a minute, we thought we were ordering the same color, and it's demonstrably different, right?
Yeah.
You're still calling it the same thing, but it doesn't look like the one we have in stock.
Right.
And we have to make sure we don't mix them, right?
Yeah.
And so here with digital, we have much better repeatability over time. And so this basically got us the job because we were competing with a couple of other companies, but this color was so important to them. And we were the guys who nailed it. So great,
I mean, honestly, it's actually quite a nice color, actually.
Yeah, it's cool. It's called Roush. And Roush,
Write that down.
They name it Roush because Roush Street was the first Airbnb the founders started, basically renting out their sofa in their apartment on Roush Street.
Oh, yeah.
And we literally had 300 bags here, finished sewing and boxed up at noon on May 17th when the city shut down at 1 o'clock. And we just like, well, we can't call UPS to pick these up because we don't know, when anyone's going to be there to receive them. So they sat here for about 3 months before we could have someone on the other end to receive them. And we were shut down. So we were a non-essential business. And so 3 weeks later, we came back to work making face masks. We made a lot of face masks. That got us through kind of the worst of the early part of it, right? But what we were left with was 90% of our business had gone to zero. And no one was obviously onboarding during COVID because no one was getting hired. Well, I mean, people were, I guess, that's not exactly true. There were a lot of hires in software, but everyone was working remotely. The whole concept of onboarding has changed and has changed now permanently because many people are onboarded over Zoom. For all I know, all companies are doing is sending people a coffee mug to remind them who they work for. But they're not getting the bag. They're not getting maybe they're getting T-shirts. I don't know. But it's not the same as it was before. We haven't had an order from Airbnb or Stripe ever since. They were our two largest clients. So the result is we've had to completely change our business model to direct consumer. We've had direct to consumer the entire time we've been in business for 17 years, but it's never been the bulk of our business. And we spent a lot of money on it to have a website and all that kind of, and customizer online and all that. But now it is exclusively the focus of our business to drive business to our website, and then to work with a few select wholesale accounts. Wholesale is really tough for us because high cost of manufacturing. We can't do really standard keystone markup on all of our products because we won't be competitive with all the other bag makers. Because our labor is minimum 10x what labor is overseas. There was a time early on where we had relationship in China where we were making components. The original business model for this company was build components, sub-assemblies overseas, bring those components here and do final assembly and customization. So build a chassis, like an automotive company.
Right.
Build a chassis. You can call it a Chevy Suburban, a Lincoln, whatever they call that, Navigator. Let's make a chassis overseas. One size, one color, all the functionality, 90% of the labor in that chassis. Let's bring that chassis here and skin it. Okay? You get to choose your outside color, your binding, your label, all that stuff. But under the hood, it's a pre-built chassis.
Right.
Now, over time, we started making some of our own things here because we wanted to be able to make things at once, and we wanted to be able to kind of make things on our own and not have to worry about going back and forth with a factory overseas and then say, okay, here we go, let's make 5,000 of these, right?
Yeah.
And so we kind of had this dual world. We had stuff we made from scratch here and stuff that was made from components brought in from overseas, and had to be called, that's made overseas, not made here. We assembled here, but not made.
Right.
And I happen to be the founder of an organization called SF Made, which supports local manufacturing. So I'm the poster child for making stuff here, and here I am making stuff over in China, right? And part of my business. And so people would say, "Oh, it's so great that everything you make here." And I said, "No, we didn't say that. We make some stuff overseas, we make some stuff here."
Yeah.
But after a while, I started thinking about the cost and the complexity of us ordering stuff from China. Minimums, commitments to contracts and all that kind of stuff, and the sheer amount of money you have to upfront for that. And at one point I just said, you know what? I am not here to be the king of the bag business.
Right.
I'm here to run a business that I enjoy, that is kind of stays within my means. I don't get totally stressed out about all the finances. And I finally concluded, if I can't make it here, I'm not going to make it anymore. And we started figuring out, you know what? We can sew just as well as anybody else. It's just a matter of learning how to do it.
Yeah.
And I actually came to learn that my sewers actually I'd say, when we do this, yeah, that's no problem. Like, okay, well, let's do it.
Right.
And then the other thing is that it also changed it guided our design philosophy. I'm a minimalist designer. That's my design aesthetic anyway. But it's also an economic imperative here. We have to be able to make stuff quickly. My approach is to make a bag functional, but as simple as possible.
Yeah.
Because a couple of things. I mean, I have a hypothesis that bags actually got as complicated as they did for kind of everyday use because back in the day when I was running Timbuktu, and there was still kind of retail as we think of it in the old days, we went to REI 4 times a year. We had to present our line, right? Well, you got to show up with something new every time, right? And it's hard to come up with a completely new line. So what you do is you say, hey, well, we got that bag. Let's put another pocket on it, Let's do this or that, tweak it a little bit. And so basically you get feature creep because the way to make it new is just to add something, right? And people don't like to take away stuff because that's like, I'm showing up with less of a product. I need to show up with more of a product. So kind of we launched our Zero Messenger bag, and kind of holding my breath. What are people going to say about this bag? Are they going to go, what's wrong with this bag? There's like no pockets, no features. No, we started getting feedback where people are like, God, this is my new favorite bag. Yeah. I love the way it sculpts to my body. I love how simple it is. I've been losing things in my bag. And I'm like, great. Yeah. That's what we hoped to hear. For some people, it's oversimplified. For other people, it just meets their needs. They just want something to dump things into, but it looks cool and comes from a company that they trust, or is made in USA. Who knows why? People have different reasons for buying from a small brand like ours. We kind of proved early on, we can make a business using this minimalist approach, make high quality products, but not overinvest in features, therefore labor, that people don't really appreciate or don't really want to pay for. This business from the beginning has been about customization. And I inherited that ethos from Timbuktu. Timbuktu had I don't know if it's verifiable, but I believe that the Timbuktu 3-panel messenger bag customizer was the first online customizer. And it won a Webby Award way back in 2000 for being this, and it was Flash back then. It was Flash implementation.
Wow, okay.
They won awards for it. And it was fantastic because and when I got there, we were still accepting, written forms saying, I want this panel to be blue, this one to be red. But ultimately pushed all that online. Well, the guy that was at Timbuktu, who oversaw that development, he left Timbuktu when I joined the company as the CEO.
Okay.
And he went off and started a company to make customizer software for other companies. And their first client was Nike. They built the Nike ID site. Okay, and so Timbuktu probably owns in history this sort of genesis of the online customizer. And people loved it. So when I started Rickshaw, I said, we're gonna design products that can be customized. We need what are going to be our dimensions of customization? We're obviously not going to have the 3-panel design. That's Timbuktu. So choose your panels, choose your logo color, right? Here we decided, well, we're going to choose your outside color, your inside color, your trim binding color, and the label color. So those are the 4 things you can choose, and then maybe some accessories. My idea is have a core line of product, and frankly, better that it not change very much over time. So people always know they can come back. I can go back and get another Zero messenger bag because the one I've had for 15 years, it's either worn out or I'm tired of it. I want to switch it up, but I know I'm going to get that same bag.
Right.
Okay. This is a fun example. Anchor being a wonderful brand that unfortunately has met its demise over the last year, but may get resurrected. We'll see. Okay. But this was a fun project. It was for their sales team. Great logo embroidered on here. The pride of San Francisco, right? And on the inside, custom printed, are all their labels.
Oh, wow.
So that's pretty fun. If you're an Anchor Steam, aficionado, you see this and go, where can I get one of those?
Yeah.
Well, you have to be on the sales team to get one. But we print this fabric in-house. Okay. So one of the things that I focused on was what kind of technology can we employ here for make to order, and it's going to be digital, right? Digital laser cutting, digital fabric printing. Embroidery is a digital technology, right? It's actually probably one of the first sewing robots, right? Is an embroidery machine. You tell it what to embroider and it does it. And so digital printing, dye sublimation in our case, is one of our kind of expertises now. And also developing the fabrics that were good for making bags. There's lots of fabric out there for apparel. Okay, most of the cycling kits you see, all the cycling kits you see, those are dye sublimation printing. That's how they can do it for a team of 10 people and put all those logos on there. It's at once printing and then making them. And so I thought, that technology with the right fabric, we could use it for bags. So we worked with a company who does fabric converting, basically laminating, and found a combination of fabrics that, when laminated together, gave us the performance characteristics and the manufacturing characteristics that we needed to do this kind of printing. So that's what we do today. Other examples, patches. It's embroidery, but it's kind of a different, approach. All these have embroidery on them. This is another fun one. Again, it's the printed liner. These guys have this dinosaur as their logo, and so we repeat that pattern on the inside, right?
Very cool.
And so it's a surprise inside.
Yeah.
It's something that you're not going to get. A company like, they wanted 20 bags. You're not going to get this in a high volume shop overseas, right? Yeah. And you're not going to get it on a bag that was pulled out of stock for embroidery, right? I mean, so you can go buy bags that are meant to be embroidered all day long. They're pretty inexpensive. They stock them by the thousands. But to get a custom interior, you got to start from scratch. And to get a custom interior on a bag for 5 or 10 or even 50 or 100, you have to do something like this. It has to be small scale manufacturing. And so that's our thing. When someone comes to me and says, "Oh, I have this great opportunity. We need 10,000 bags." I'm like, you can stop right there. Hey, you're not going to have the budget for what I do, right? And B, we can't handle it. It'll take forever to make 10,000 bags. So and we're not going to push everyone else aside to do that job. Right. It doesn't make sense. And then we have the TED Fellows bags up here because one, we are very proud of our partnership with TED, but also because we work with an artist who himself is a TED Fellow, and we've done now, I think, a half a dozen projects, and he always does artwork for the inside, which is fun.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, and then we do a custom pouch just as a little add-on for them to go with the bag. So it's kind of a fun little package. Yeah. We actually this is our donation that we make every year to the TED Fellows program as part of our ongoing support for TED, which is a nonprofit.
So technically you can still get this bag, but you have to
You have to be a fellow. You have to be a fellow to get that bag.
You guys are lucky, fellow guys.
You got to be a fellow to get that bag. Another fun thing is, and this actually came from a hack that I saw on Carryology.
Oh, okay.
Someone on Carryology took a backpack, I don't know if it was a GoRuck or something like that.
Yeah.
They hacked it, they had some sewing skills, they took off the pocket and they put on a pocket that they used a Sigeha pattern.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? But I could tell that it was cotton fabric. Mm-hmm. And I was like, yeah, that's a great idea. That pocket isn't going to last because the fabric's not very robust.
Yeah.
But that is a very clever idea because I know that all over prints are just a bit much. You know, I mean, you can see there's a houndstooth bag, right? That's a lot of action, right? There's a lot going on there, and it's kind of dizzying, right?
Yes.
I mean, it's a classic pattern, so it kind of works there. But I was like, I don't want to put these patterns all over the bag. But the pocket, that's a pretty cool idea. So I started an experiment here where I'm printing on, in this case, not a white fabric. So I can't print color on a color background. It'll just wash out.
Yeah.
But I can print black. And so kind of like embossing, if you will, right? A nice little kind of hit of design without overdoing it, and making it feel overwhelming on the bag.
Was there a challenge with what type of black to kind of put on that?
Yes,
material?
so it's actually not black. It's a different. I use different gray. That's an 11C. When I do it on green, I have to dial it back a little bit because there's it just looks too intense.
Yeah.
And so I dial back the gray a little bit. But yes, it was a series of experiments on kind of what level of gray to black.
Right.
And then on the black here, I can use pure black and get it. I actually need it to kind of have it stand out, right? So, but you can dial in that contrast. Basically, you're dialing in the contrast, right?
Right.
About 9 years ago, I started collecting fountain pens.
Oh,
So one of the great things about having your own business is you can tune it to your hobbies, right?
Yes.
And so I went to my first fountain pen show. I was a complete, newbie to the hobby.
Yeah.
It was overwhelming,
Yeah.
but my observation was people were spending more money on a single pen, the beautiful Urushi artist pen from Japan, than they were spending on their Apple laptop. Thousands of dollars.
That's a lot.
And I've been making laptop sleeves for Apple computers for 20 years. And I use a special plush material from the toy industry in those. Because I learned early on that if you use 420 or 1000D Cordura on the inside, taking your laptop in and out will gradually sand down the corner, the finish off the corners of the computer. And nobody with a $2,000 computer, especially an Apple owner, wants to see that happen, right?
Right.
So I said, well, we have to have a super soft material. Well, when I went to that pen show, my takeaway was what these people need is a laptop sleeve for their pens. And so I designed our first pen sleeve, and it was a simple thing. It's like a taco. I figured, look, I can take basically this lozenge shape. I can fold it. I can leave one end open. I can slip a pen in there. I can put plush on the inside. I can use my printed fabric on the outside, so I can print any design I want. And there was the pen sleeve. And that has since grown to a full line of multiple pen. These are for 2 pens, 3 pens. These fit into a bag that we make called the koozie case. We call these koozies, like kind of like a beer koozie, but the idea is it's a protective sleeve for your pens. These fit into a special case. So you can put a collection of these. The 2 pens and the 3 pens nest together, and they stack in a nice orderly way. So anyway, it became sort of a system. Being an engineer, like, I gotta have a system. And then we just got into making more and more pouches. So all of our pouches, you can either get them with a smooth 420 liner, or you can get them with a plush. Oh, that one's smooth again. Maybe I don't have a plush one on here. With a plush liner in it.
Yeah, gotcha.
Which, so if you, depending on what you want, if you want it to be smooth and wipe clean, or if you want it to be all cuddly inside. So,
Right.
But we've adopted plush as one of our, really one of our signature fabrics. And again, available in many, many colors. And so it plays into our customization and kind of label coordination. We have our labels in colors, plush in colors. We can mix and match these to coordinate with the designs themselves.
Right. I love that how you decide what product can come out is based on what your hobbies are.
Yeah, right. So I'm into cycling. So we make some bicycling bar bags and seat bags. I got into pens, and now the broader EDC market. So though I'm not a watch collector, the watch market is directly adjacent to pens, knives, flashlights, all that stuff, and we've started expanding our cases into those. My observation is, you collect them, we protect them, right? We want to keep your gear in factory fresh condition so that if you do either pass it on as an heirloom or decide you want to sell it or trade it, that you can say, hey, this is in factory fresh condition, because that's going to be the most desirable for resale, right? The one that's dinged and scratched, people might still want it because it's rare or whatever, but it's going to be dinged and scratched.
Right.
If you can sell them the one that's in mint condition, all the better.
Right.
It's kind of like cars. I'd rather someone else I buy used cars so that the dent's already there.
Right.
Because the first one you get is like, oh no.
I don't want to drive it. I got to drive slow. Yeah.
So anyway, with the gear, it's like if you get it in pristine condition, you don't want to be the one who makes it any less so.
Right.
So anyway, the idea of creating cases, made to protect in style the gear that you're buying.
What happens when you get like suggestions or like on what other items to make or certain types of designs? Does it go like to the back of your mind, or you have like a whole list of things that
I welcome suggestions because the world is brainstorming for you, right? But I will say I focus on the things that I'm personally passionate about because I'm the most informed on those things. So if I'm a user, I can design for myself, right? And I can more easily communicate with like-minded users, people who are into the same thing. Means kind of the same with anything, right? And I'm a designer, so I'm like this. Any idea is like, oh wow, that's a cool idea. But I've trained myself to try to narrow my focus. I was once called an idea hamster by a colleague of mine because I'm always like on the idea wheel, right? And so I had an artist do an idea hamster sticker for me. But that's exhausting, right? It's mentally exhausting, and it's kind of emotionally can be very exhausting. And so I've tried to maintain some focus on the things that I'm passionate about. And we get asked for special interest stuff all the time. Things as simple as, hey, that would be perfect for knitting needles. Well, I'm not a knitter. So either someone who really knows knitting, and I'm friends with, and I'm going to get together with and say, okay, what do you really need? I want to make an authentically good product. And if I don't have the expertise, I need to have a really close connection to someone who does. We don't do pet products. We don't do specific camera products. Those are kind of niche markets where a couple of things. There's already people who are absolutely passionate about it, doing a great job serving that market. And some of them are small entrepreneurs. I'm not here to go stomp around in anybody else's territory. I tend to lean on accessories for functionality because I feel like building that stuff into the bag kind of burdens the bag with that functionality. So is this a bag for people that are camera people? Well, no, this is a bag for carrying stuff. This is a thing for carrying things that go in the bag, right?
Smaller stuff.
So for smaller stuff, that doesn't have to be a camera insert, but that's actually a pen. That's a journaling bag that is built around an A5 journal, so that I can say, you might just say, well, I'm going to just throw my gaming equipment in there, but what I want to be able to say to my people is, your A5 journal will fit in there, along with a lot of other things. You can use it for whatever you want. And then here with our fanny packs, having some fun with new materials. On bags, you need the material to have certain substance, because it's more heavy wear, right? They get dragged around and whatnot. But the smaller goods, you can start playing around with some fun fabrics that maybe aren't quite as heavy duty. So a ripstop nylon, this is a 200D, right? You don't really want 200D on the outside of your backpack. Especially if the corners aren't protected or something like that. On a bag like this, which is worn and not getting rubbed, and or might be even a module that's going inside of a bag, you can start to have fun with fabrics that you might not normally use on the exterior of a bag, a full-size bag. This is a 200D material called UltraGrid from Challenge. I love this material. It doesn't really have enough weight and substance to be a suture backpack, but it works perfectly for the watch case and for a sling bag. It's got a great feel to it.
Yeah.
You know, the white thread there is a Dyneema. Well, it's the ultra high density polymer, but the trade name would be Dyneema or Spectra.
Right.
And then it's a recycled nylon base fabric. But you know, cool fabric, variety of colors, nicely done. Great company. Love working with them, and love using their fabrics. And then here, you know, kind of back to this overall print thing. You know, here's a case where, you know, it's a lot of print.
Yeah.
It appeals to some people. This is our digital camo line. But I think it kind of gets to be a bit much. There's the dragon print that I was talking about.
That's very cool.
Yeah. And so I'm kind of enthusiastic about this subtle printing of patterns. I like this, but I think it is a little over the top for a lot of people. But still, you know, it on the inside it's cool. Yeah. Actually, right? So a lot of these things, if you reverse it, you can get a cool look on the inside. These are all have a kind of color coordinated 420 interior.
Gotcha.
Again, trying to, you know, have some fun with coordinating the colors so that it's not always gray inside or you know,
black or
not black, right? Or orange.
right. There seems to be two big material companies. Is there like any times where there's like drama between them which causes you trouble, or is it like very kind of a peaceful, very UN kind of?
Well, I would say I would say there's not. I don't sense any drama around it. I wouldn't. I mean, they're not like collaborating with one another.
Right.
They're definitely they're competitors.
Yeah.
There are two primary sailcloth manufacturers making outdoor fabric. There are several sailcloth manufacturers for sailing. Okay, but both. First was Dimension Polyant with their outdoor fabrics division. People discovered early on, hey, sailcloth's cool because it's waterproof. And in certain ways of putting it together, it can be very lightweight, and it looks cool because it looks architectural. You can see those cross threads. So I think, as much as anything, it just was a cool, waterproof, lightweight fabric. If you're like, hey, that would make cool bags, right? Then Challenge recently got heavily into the outdoor fabrics, and that's because the person who was the head of marketing and development for Dimension Polyant left Dimension Polyant, moved, and ultimately wound up at Challenge. Challenge is a family-run business, you know, small business, relatively. I mean, they're a lot bigger than we are, but I mean, you know, they're a small private company run private family, and they invested all in. And over the last 4 years, they have developed an extraordinarily competitive line of fabrics, both in the direct competitor to X-Pack, right, in their EPX line, but other fabrics like these, like the Ultra Grid, and like this is one of their fabrics also. This is their denim, what we call it performance denim. This is a sailcloth. It actually has a grid pattern behind there.
I've actually seen this one before.
Yeah, it has the feel and the look. They actually did some striation to make it look like denim, like natural denim. Fantastic. Innovative, right? Very cool. Those two companies, I would say that they're both innovative in their own ways. I think that Dimension Polyant's been a little slow on the uptake, only because they're managed out of Germany, and it's a bigger corporation. You know, it just takes longer to get stuff done. Challenge has been more nimble and more entrepreneurial, and really has, you know, pulled it together very quickly and come out with a really solid line. And so I like the fact that it's that the EPX line is all recycled polyester. Traditionally, X-Pack is a combination of nylon and polyester. That presents some issues in manufacturing. The fabric tends to curl, and so that creates issues when we're laser cutting it and when we're storing it. Scraps roll up into tight little rolls, and you have to like pry them apart and use a lot of magnets to hold them down when you're laser cutting. And the all polyester makeup is a little less susceptible to curl, so it's a little more stable for us manufacturing-wise. And there's some other reasons that I prefer the EPX from a manufacturing perspective. They both look very similar cosmetically, and performance-wise, they're effectively identical.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think overall, it just, in general, just like more competition inspires more innovation.
Oh, absolutely.
It's definitely better. It's good for them to have that, you know. Pushback,
yeah.
You know
Healthy competition is good.
Yeah,
absolutely. It's good at every level. I mean, all of us bag people are, you know, coming up with our own innovations as well, so that we can be different and be competitive. So, I mean, this market is an interesting one because it's very easy to copy something, right? I mean, the product is the pattern, right? You take it apart and there it is, right?
Exactly.
And so, knockoffs are super easy to do. And also there's so many ways to do it, right? And there's bound to be similarities no matter what. Okay, I think it's by the subtle differences and some. Oftentimes, every once in a while, you come out with a major thing, and it's like, whoa, that is an awesome idea. But most of what we do is very incremental and is often derivative from things we've seen or things we've done ourselves. Everybody wants to have certain signature things, whether it's your custom zipper pulls or the way that you install your zippers or the particular fabrics or the corner details or the way you do your pockets and stuff like that. So there are lots of ways to do it. It's really kind of an origami experiment ultimately. And when we get into this discussion of waterproof zippers, well, they're not really waterproof,
Exactly.
And AquaGuard and the whole thing around that. And for me, I just find them to be a little stiff. And so I tend to tell people, look, if you want an easy to open zipper, get a reverse zipper. You get some of the same effects of the kind of closing over the coil without the fussiness of the laminating the polyurethane on there. And it's a different aesthetic too. It's a shiny zipper, and they're not really waterproof. So don't call it something that it's not.
I know.
And yes, we use waterproof fabrics, but our bags are not waterproof because all the stitching is just perforating that waterproofing. Right? When people ask me to embroider a waterproof flap, I'm like, no, you're just drilling a bunch of holes in it.
Yeah.
So can we do a heat transfer instead or something? So I try to be careful about people saying, hey, well, I want a waterproof bag. Well, that's not us.
Yeah.
If you like waterproof fabrics and you want, and it gives you a little extra protection, that's great. But stuff's gonna still get wet if you got in a torrential downpour. Yeah. What you need in that case is an umbrella, not a waterproof fabric.
How did the name Rickshaw come about?
Good question. I'll show you.
All right, let's go.
Casting about for a name for a company is, oh my gosh, it's exhausting.
Right? Tell me.
So when I left Timbuktu, I was sitting in my living room and I was in my notebooks. I'm writing down all these names. Do I want to be the American Bag Company? What do I want to be, right? And so on my coffee table was a book that I had bought because I'm into cycling, and I was like, that's a bicycle, right? But for transporting stuff. And so this book, Chasing Rickshaws. So I opened it up and I started reading this, the origin of the rickshaw. What is a rickshaw? Well, Jinrikisha in Japanese is human strength vehicle, and it was, whether this is fact or fiction, I don't know, but the story is, it's in Wikipedia, it must be true, is that an American missionary in Japan in the mid-1800s invented the rickshaw. Okay. And he did it because apparently his wife was somehow infirmed and couldn't get around. And Japan, Tokyo, is notoriously difficult to navigate because the streets are all like this. Any person who doesn't understand the characters, any American in Japan is going to be completely befuddled by
pre-Google
direction.
Maps,
and there's no Google Maps, right? This is listening to someone who speaks a language you don't understand, describing characters that you can't read, how to get somewhere, right? So his idea was, and there weren't a plethora of motor vehicles at this time. So his idea was, well, hey, look, I know about bicycles. If I grafted a sedan chair with some wheels and two sticks, and someone could guide you around, someone who actually knew the language and knew the way around, that would be a taxi cab of sorts, right? So he apparently invented the rickshaw, the first iteration, which is two wheels, the sedan chair, two sticks that you hold on to, and you basically it's a human drawn part, right? Never mind all the kind of implications of that. Right? But the way it's said to have worked out is he sent those plans back to a manufacturer in America and imported the first rickshaw from America. Okay. Well, that was by ship. Right. It took months, both ways, right? And so apparently when the first one showed up, well, didn't take long for local entrepreneurs to go, hey, that's not a bad idea. I'll start making some of those.
Right.
And so it kind of blew up, and it went across Southeast Asia. And so this book is a photo essay going to, I don't know, a dozen different cities throughout Southeast Asia, looking at the different cultures of the rickshaw, right? In India, a little different from in China and from, in Hong Kong. And so they show representative samples and representative sort of lifestyle shots. And so I thought, that's a pretty cool name.
Yeah.
Human-powered vehicle, right? And this is pre kind of cultural appropriation kind of stuff, right? So I'm thinking, hey, that's a cool name.
Yeah.
And furthermore, it wasn't trademarked. Half the battle is finding how many names do you go, oh, that's a perfect name. You look it up, oh my God, someone's already got a trademark.
Right.
Now, I will say, over the years, I kind of thought, once we really focused in on where we're going to make our bags all here, I thought, is the name kind of weird because people are going to assume that it's, that it's a foreign company. And so, but the other curious thing that happened is people would say, oh, you must be Rick. Rick Shaw.
Right,
and so I'm like, no, not everyone thinks even knows what a rickshaw is. So maybe it's not so bad. Maybe I should just change my name.
Right.
And so I actually have a T-shirt that says, hello, my name is not Rick. Because at pen shows, people are like, hey, are you Rick? And I'm like, no. It's an easy way to screen people, though. Right?
Yeah, it's true.
Hey, I'm friends with Rick. Oh, okay, voicemail. I finally decided, look, the name works. It's stuck, and it's just a name, okay? And so now people know it as Rickshaw.
It's also like I resonate with the brand. Just like different parts of the world have different rickshaws.
Right.
So it's like different people customize their bags differently around the world.
I like
right?
that.
So that's kind of really cool.
That's a good rationalization. I might have to use that.
Yeah, I got you.
So as I was saying, SFA, so we have some SFA banners that they had an ad campaign on the street. I founded SFA actually when I was at Timbuktu. This is where we make what we make.
Right.
And industrial sewing machines, laser cutters, fabric printing, we'll see in a second. We have a team of 7 people. Tiny. Right? I mean, to call it a factory, it's a glorified workshop.
Yeah.
But it's not a garage. It's not a 1-person or 2-person operation.
Right.
We can make things at a scale. We can make hundreds of things in a week. We can actually make a couple hundred sleeves in a day. So, we can, it's not just onesie-twosies. We're making stuff for our small markets at a scale that serves that market. We have very limited wholesale distribution because it doesn't, unless it's strategic.
Yep.
Our wholesale customers are very strategic. They're partners. They're selected because they are subject matter experts. They serve the niche, like Goulet Pens, one of our wonderful partners in the pen world. Brian Goulet started as a pen maker, then started telling people about pens on a YouTube channel, created all this content, started his own retailing business. And when I got into the pen case business, I said, if I am going to be, if I'm going to get any, bona fides here and be legit, I got to be in Goulet. That will be where people go, hey, Rickshaw, if they can be in Goulet, they must be good.
Right.
And so I approached Goulet and said, hey, I'm making these pen sleeves and cases. I really would like to partner with you. And today we do some custom products for them. They've been a great partner. They do their own photography. They do their own content. They're very supportive of us. And we have a great relationship. And we have a couple of, and now we're in Jet Pens, another really great retailer out of San Jose. They serve the broader stationery market.
Yep.
They've gone, they weren't originally doing a lot with fountain pens, but they've gotten deeper into that. So we do our fountain pen cases, but also it was a way for us to get our pouches and our small goods into a broader stationery market.
Yep.
Because the pen market alone won't sustain us.
Gotcha.
We have clawed our way, we have survived with this pen business, but we're only at about 60% of capacity where we were pre-COVID. So that tells you how hard we were hit and how hard it is to claw back, right? And so we're trying to grow this business back to where we were, to a profitable, kind of sustainable level, but it's a hustle.
Tough,
Technical fabric here, we've got all the EPX, all the X packs, so it's really fun.
Yeah.
So that's that. We've got all of our Cordura, we've got all of our 420 over here. We have all of our custom woven fabric. We had a whole program. The mill speaking of, COVID affecting things,
Right.
the mill that we were working with decided we were too small to work with anymore when COVID hit because they had to focus.
Yeah.
So we're kind of depleting our stock of both houndstooth and herringbone. These are made from recycled polyester yarns. They are way more robust than wool. And so we took those classic patterns and kind of reinterpreted them in recycled polyester. We're looking now for a mill to engage and kind of recreate this line.
Yeah.
But in lieu of that, we're kind of just slowly running out of the best colors, And then all of our plush materials and different bolts of fabric here. But basically, it's kind of fabric heaven, right? And then over here is our printing. And basically the technique, dye sublimation, if you're not familiar with it, is we print on paper and with this large format inkjet printer. And the inks are specially formulated so that they bond to polyester, to a polymer. You can print on nylon, you can print on polyester, but polyester is the most popular target fabric for dye sublimation, both for apparel and for the fabric that we use. Everything is on file in different sizes and different formats. We pick the size and format, put it on the artboard, lay it all out here, print it out. Might be a short print run, where it's a single piece and maybe I feed a single piece through the machine, or it might be a long print run where I'm doing, 100 tote bags and I've got, I'm going to have like 25 yards of fabric to print. So, or 50 yards of fabric. So anyway, we lay it out on the artboard, we print it, goes to cutting, and every one of these every one of these images has a code on it that tells them what's the matching fabrics. So if it has plush, what color plush? If there's a 420 liner, what color is the 420 liner?
Gotcha.
And so that's all information on that. So this is Instagram Central here. So most of our small goods, we have lots of pens for props. Like I say, I can't use all these things, but we have to have them for props. And so this is kind of our staging area for new stuff.
That's just your pen collection.
That's
a portion.
Only a portion of it. I have to resist the urge to buy everything under the premise that I'm buying it for research or for photography.
Don't tell my wife, but that's mine.
Yeah, that's what you tell them. That's right. I've got to have one of these.
Yeah,
show it off.
for work.
So, and more of the same in here. So, there's a variety of prototypes in process, projects underway, and then samples of things that for photography and stuff like that. So, that's the round trip.
Thank you. So I have one last question that I'm not sure you can answer, but I know you make a ton of bags, and I'm sure you have your favorites of these bags. But are there bags outside of Rickshaw that you use sometimes?
Are there bags outside of Rickshaw that I use? Well, no, because my everyday carry is Sutro. It's right here.
That's the official answer, guys.
And the one before this was a Sutro. I only started carrying this one because I really liked this, and I wanted to test this fabric.
Yeah.
So I've been wearing this one for probably 6-8 months. But no, I mean, I don't need to.
That's the answer. That's how you know it's a good bag.
Well, it suits my needs.
Right.
And so, it's not that I don't have admiration for lots of other products. Some of them aren't aesthetically my thing, and maybe some of them aren't functionally my thing.
Yeah.
And I try to design a bag that works for me, hoping that if it works for me, it's going to work for other people like me, and hopefully I'm not so weird that there aren't any other people like me. That's kind of where I start. So when it comes to bags, I don't need. I don't even actually I don't want to go out and buy a bunch of other bags, just to try them out. I mean, I go out, I look at stuff. I read the carryology stories about why, what's all the functionality. But typically, I will say, I don't need that for myself. I might say, well, I should add a feature or have an accessory that meets that need because a lot of people are doing that, and even though I'm not. So I get that. So I definitely, any product developer should be looking at what's going on in the world for two reasons. One, see what's state of the art. You can get great ideas from other people's ideas. That's just the way it is. Yeah. But also to kind of be mindful of where you might be stepping on people's toes, and to know what is other people's aesthetic and other people's thing, right? Yeah. So that you're like, hey, I don't want to be the same. I want to be different if I can. I want to be meaningfully different, but I want to be different so that people don't think, oh, well, gosh, I can get that same thing from these guys. Because it's more than likely those guys are making it overseas. And so if it is just like that product, I'm not going to be competitive.
Yeah.
And so my products need to be unique in some way, be a proprietary, patentable way. Though there are patents out there. I have a few bag patents, but generally I'm not wasting my time on that. It's expensive. It's time consuming. Anyone can copy what I've already done, but nobody knows what I'm going to do next. And so it's imperative that I do keep developing new products. Maybe not a brand new backpack every 4 months, but that when I do something, it is enough, unique enough in its own way that it becomes my signature, and that I'm working on new things that whether it's pen cases or whatever that suit the need as it evolves, and so that people can expect that I'm going to come out with something clever and interesting and evolve with the market.
Gotcha.
Okay, here's an example. So we make pen rolls, and they are plush lined, so you can stick your pens in there. And then I was thinking the other day, we have a bunch of customers who always buy sleeves. They buy a pen and they buy a sleeve. Well, the pen's already in a sleeve. Right. And they're actually using their sleeves to identify their pens. So it might have the manufacturer's name on it, might be a color, right? Like, oh, my blue ink, it's in the blue pen sleeve.
Gotcha.
Well, so I thought, hey, you know what? How about a roll for pens that are already in their sleeves? It doesn't need, and in fact, it doesn't want plush inside. It wants to be, easy to access and pull the sleeves out. So, here's a product that's like another product, but is, is informed by our unique pen roll, but now is a roll for pens and sleeves, the sleeves that we make, that we invented, right? So it's not rocket science, but it is innovative in its own way. It's innovative in that it's moving the state of our art forward in our own way around our system of protecting and storing pens, right? And so whether it's pens or watches or knives or whatever.
No, I think that's important. I think for people who are looking to start, I think your way of staying ahead is just to try to stay innovative, try to stay 2 steps ahead, keep an open mind about certain things, and trial and error, right? Those are like the most important things.
That and the ability to do things at a scale that, not a huge scale, but at a scale that others don't, right? So it is important to me. If I was one guy with a sewing machine, I could not serve Goulet pens.
Right.
I could not serve, most of the customers that are ordering, they order 100 pieces. I have pen makers who order 100 sleeves at a time. If I was one guy doing that, it would take me weeks just to get that order done. Right? And frankly, even if that paid my own salary, it would be no fun.
It would be.
I'd just be a slave to making that one pen sleeve, right? I wouldn't have any time to design anything.
Right.
I would be working alone, which would be boring. And here, we have enough scale. I mean, anyone who's working out of their garage or has one person helping them looks at this and goes, "Oh my God, this is a dream come true."
Right.
And it is in some ways. It's also a nightmare at times, right? My job, most of my job is keeping that factory busy. Right. Knowing that we have enough in the pipeline at any given time, and that pipeline is very short. We're working on a 30-day horizon most of the time. So I got to make sure this week I get enough orders that we have stuff to make next week. And so that's stressful. And it takes, and it's not like we have some big marketing machine and sales team out there getting business for us. It's all organic. The orders that we get are because either a long-standing relationship where we know we're going to get an order, a restocking order every 1 week to 1 month from our key customers, so we can kind of count on that unless something blows up, right? I mean, we thought we could count on Airbnb forever. It blew up in one day, in an instant, right? So that kind of stuff can happen. So I think that and the economy could change, and our e-commerce site could dry up. So we don't know what that future stores, but has in store for us. But keeping that factory properly busy, because they're not. It's not like, hey, like McDonald's, hey, we decided you don't have to come in today. No, that's an 8-hour-a-day job, 5 days a week for them, and they can depend on that. And if we don't have work, they'd just be sitting around, We'd be cleaning up stuff or whatever. And or make work, and I do that once in a while. We have things where I know I will be able to sell them. So we'll make ahead because we're anticipating an order from one of our customers with a popular product. But we don't build to stock unless we have to, and to keep people busy. Right. And so we are an at-once, make-to-order business. And one, we don't want to carry finished goods inventory if we don't have to, and we want to have enough business at any time that we're not under pressure to get it done today, but that it's enough to keep us busy week after week after week. And that's a challenge, balancing act.
Whew.
So there you go.
What a tour, right? That's crazy.
Probably get more than you bargained for.
No, I appreciate it. That was amazing.
Thanks for indulging me in my stories.
Yeah. So this is the tour of Rickshaw. Just Rickshaw now, right? And,
Rickshaw Bagworks.
And this is Rickshaw. No, this is Mark. He is the owner of Rickshaw, and he was gracious enough to give us this beautiful tour, and we're so appreciative of it. So we thank you for giving us.
My pleasure.
Awesome conversation about your bag, your brand, and just your insights on the bag industry.
Well, I appreciate you coming here. It's as you can tell, I'm passionate about what I do. I love telling my story, and we've been at it for 17 years, and I'm not planning to retire anytime soon, so we hope we'll be here for many more years to come.
That's the dream.
And I appreciate you helping get the word out. I tell people, most everyone who knows us, loves us. We just need more people to know us.
There's always that one extra person who doesn't, right?
There's a lot of them out there.
Yeah.
It turns out. Yeah. So thank you for helping spread the word for Rickshaw.
Absolutely. All right, until next time, guys. Bye.
Cheers.